Good afternoon. My name is Dale Rodriguez, and this is Flabonga Monthroth the Cube. Got the name right. With me today, I have the illustrious, the infamous, the magnanimous Kayleigh Graham.
Oh, I like it. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. You are possibly the most elusive guest to get on this show. I think we've scheduled it twice, maybe. Or I invited you like 2 or 3 times and you just ignored me. Then we scheduled it and we had to reschedule a couple of times. Like, no one has been as elusive as you. You're like a jungle cat.
I'm everywhere but nowhere.
Yeah, like you're blowing up on the socials at every single event. I think most people in the UK accounting space know you or know of you because of the work you do with the accounting web, because of the work you've done with Capitalize, and now you're working for Teleroo. What's Teleroo?
Teleroo is a bulk supplier and payroll payments platform for accountants.
Cool. So if I am a business owner, I don't really care what you do, right? Do I? Do I care what you do?
Should. Effectively, the way that I look at it is that when we look at accounting and bookkeeping, a lot of the services that are offered to small businesses have some kind of trigger point, right? So whether it's payroll, okay, great. It's when you first hire an employee. You need HR support because of this. You look at funding because you're growing. There's like a reason for a service. And yet when we look at payments occur from the minute a business is conceptualized and they pay someone to set up a website for them, right the way through to exit. And yet from an accounting and bookkeeping perspective, it's often something that's left to the client. So we'll see people going in and automating all of the systems to do invoice capture, to do invoice approvals, having them go into Xero beautifully. And then we send the client a lovely list of things to log into their online banking and pay. And so what we then have is clients logging in, spending loads of time manually keying stuff, or accountants taking it on for clients that they feel they have to because they're big clients that have asked for it and they feel like they can't say no, but they're doing it with direct access to bank accounts. The risk is huge. The indemnity insurance cost is huge because you've got access directly to client funds, et cetera, et cetera. For me, Teller is about closing that bookkeeping loop and making it all run seamlessly.
That does sound fantastic because I do know some clients that we act for that we do go into their bank accounts, and I don't know if I should say it or not because I got beef with one particular bank, and you and I have spoken about it in private. Should I mention it or not? Is that too controversial?
I don't think it is. I think even said bank is aware of the issues.
What I find interesting, so I'll mention the bank and I'll explain the dichotomy I've got going in my head, right? So NatWest, they have a system called Bankline. I don't know what it's about. I don't like it. I hate it. It makes my life hard. At the same time, they have partnered with Free Agent, who are being very progressive and very, agile. And I find that really interesting because I don't know if NatWest own Free Agent or there's a partnership or whatever it is. But like on the one hand, you've got Free Agent just absolutely killing it, smashing it. Tony and his team are just, being very progressive, and then you've got Bankline. It's almost impossible to make a payment in a straightforward way.
It's fascinating. I used to work at NatWest. I worked at NatWest for 3 years in commercial and corporate, and so all of our clients were on Bankline. And it's fascinating when you work in the bank and you see the separation that there is between these things, that you kind of think it shouldn't be that difficult. But when you see what's going on in the background and the amount that you would have to unpick to kind of change some of these things, it's fascinating. So I worked commercial, corporate, and then moved across into what was Esme Loans at the time, which was their like forward-thinking business lending arm. And you go, oh, it's amazing. Why don't we map this back into main bank and make this really, really easy for all of the business customers as well? And that was my initial job. It was assistant director of strategic projects, which was how do we map this into NatWest? And after about 6 months, we went, oh, we don't. That's the answer. We actually just don't, because it's nigh on impossible. So let's move on to something else. And that's the reality of it with a lot of these things is it sounds like a great idea, but it doesn't work out. And that's why they then go and acquire stuff, build things separately, because that's the only way to get that like forward thinking bit, because trying to do it with the main infrastructure is almost impossible.
No. Yeah, fair play. I get it. To migrate, transform, or create something new could cost lots and lots of money and time. So if it's not broke, don't fix it, kind of thing, right? Okay, I'm gonna have to ask you a silly question because that's just how my brain works. No, not a silly one. I'll ask you a personal one. Let's zoom in a little bit. Hold up. If it's not too much, if not too difficult or too personal, what's going on behind you? I'm always interested in people's home working spaces. There's lots of pictures. Are they
Well, over
trips
here,
you've been on, or?
Yeah, we've got the plant. We've got this that says Kayleigh Graham, Chief Boss Lady. That's the important bit of over here.
Wait, did you buy that for yourself?
I didn't. Someone bought it for me.
Because I'm saying if you buy that for yourself, that's just we have to end the conversation here.
This
All
one
right,
is me
that's
and
allowable.
Rachel Harris at Accountex last year. And this board is filled with a whole bunch of pictures of me with old clients, old colleagues, me and my other half, Sonia from Chaser, the team, and then our Xero finalist award certificate as well.
Oh, you guys were Xero finalists. Was that this year or last year?
Yeah, this year and last year, actually.
Okay. Yeah. Is it exciting being a Xero finalist?
It is. I think it's nice to have the recognition for the amount of Xero clients and accounting partners that we work with and the work that we do with Xero. And I think particularly this year, when Xero have released their own payments functionality in partnership with Cresco, I think us still being in that finalist category spoke volumes for the relationship that we still have with Xero, regardless of what they're releasing themselves, but also the impact that we're still having on the Xero community. So I think this year, arguably, it meant more than even last year.
Can I ask you a mean question?
Of course.
What's the difference between you and Cresco? Telaroo Cresco, like similar space but not the same. What's the difference?
Yeah, Cresco's initial focus was on payments in via the QR codes, really, really cool functionality. They then looked at payments out, and they've done that predominantly through the open banking functionality and then partnered with Xero to be able to offer that. The key difference then opens up the conversation of e-money accounts, wallet-based solutions versus open banking solutions. I personally am of the opinion that open banking works beautifully for the micro and small business space, where business owners are owning that process themselves, and the ability to click pay and authorize through their online banking app works beautifully. Where I think it falls down, in my personal opinion, is where you have accounting firms trying to bring in payments as a service across their client base, because open banking looks different depending on the client. There are different limits in place with different banks. The approval process can look different. Some you have to have the payee set up before, some you don't. So for me, if I was an accounting firm owner and I'm building a process that I'm going to be able to roll out across clients, a wallet-based solution gives you effectively the ability to just roll out one process and have that consistency across all of your client base. You then use something like Telaroo that gives your client the ability to top up using open banking, and you get the best of both worlds.
Why are you always right? I just want to agree with you. I just want to agree with you. Like, usually I have debates with people, but like, no, what you said is 100%. I 100% agree with what you said. There's only one thing that distracted me. I assume whatever video system you're using, like, it has gesture recognition. You did a thumbs up, and I swear a thumbs up came up on your screen.
And I don't know why it does it, and I can't figure out how to turn it off, but mine does do sometimes.
Like,
in certain systems, I get fireworks and all sorts. It's great, but I don't know how to turn it off.
Oh, okay, cool. I think it's a Google thing. I assume if you're using Google stuff, then they've got these, like, yeah, because you can do like excited, you can do like a circle thing. I don't know. You can do loads of gestures, and it does different reactions. Yeah, if you're on a video call with someone from Xero, theirs is on, and it's on to the extreme. Every gesture they make, something happens on the screen. It's amazing.
Oh, wow.
Very distracting. We're talking about numbers.
We'll immediately be scheduling a call with someone from Xero.
Okay, I've got to ask you some silly questions, otherwise this wouldn't be the show it is. If you could eat one meat for the rest of your life, forsaking all others, what meat are you choosing? Bearing in mind the meat you choose means you can't have any other stuff. It's got to be that meat.
Chicken or lamb?
You've got to pick one or the other. You can't both.
Chicken. Purely for versatility.
Okay. Versatility. Okay. So you pick chicken. No spaghetti bolognese, because no one makes bolognese with chicken mince.
You don't, but you can have something similar if you go down like the Spanish chicken route, and you can do that with pasta or rice. So then you've got the same kind of idea. I'm okay with it.
Okay. Yeah. And you said chicken or lamb, so I guess they're your favourites. So you're picking chicken. That means no Sunday lamb roast, no lamb and mint sauce, no kebabs if you're a kebab eater.
I know, but I'm thinking you can get a chicken doner kebab, you can get a chicken shish kebab, you can still have chicken with a roast dinner, you can have chicken in a curry. Chicken can pretty much go everywhere. Lamb feels limited.
Also, it's way more expensive, let's be honest.
This is also very true.
I'm not even gonna lie. Like chickens are everywhere. Not lamb isn't eaten everywhere. You're right. Chickens are.
Very
But
true.
you can grow your own chickens. Trying to rear your own sheep is
Yeah, I'm
far
not
more
sure I want to
difficult.
rear sheep. Yeah, very good point.
No, no. Although saying that, are you more of a country person or more of a urban person or suburbs?
I am a walk in the countryside, but 5-star
Mm.
hotel kind of person. It's like a healthy balance. Like I don't want to go camping, but I'll go for a walk. I don't want to swim in the sea, but I'll go to the beach. Like it's like a healthy
Oh, you
balance.
don't want to. Now, is it the type of sea that you don't want to swim in? Like, is it because of the temperature or the murkiness of the sea, or is it all seas?
It's all sea. I have like an up to the knee sea limit.
For reals?
Yeah.
Is that like a mild phobia, as in you just don't like being in the sea too deep?
So no, it's more the lack of cleanliness and the salt water. Don't love it. Very funny about my skin and my hair. So like the whole salt water thing is not my favorite. But then deep
Hmm.
sea water also petrifying. But I'm not like, oh, I can't swim in it because I'm scared. I'm talking like deep sea. Like if you've ever watched the videos where they're like out sailing in the middle of the night and they look out and you can't see anything, that's petrifying.
No, I'm with you on that one. That you can lose your life real quick
That is petrifying.
if you're like no one can see you. That's ridiculous. Yeah, I guess some people are braver than me. Yeah, I think I'm usually okay when I can see the bottom. Like I'm happy to swim in the sea,
Nice.
but I like being able to see a little bit.
I'm
Sorry,
a
this isn't about me. Let's go back to let's go back to some of your questions. Let's get this more serious. So, are accountants bad buyers? Can I answer that question?
yeah,
Yes.
go for it.
Just yes. I could probably expand on that, but just yes. Oh no, is it accountants or UK businesses in general?
Um, Good question. I think accountants get a lot of stick for it, but I don't disagree. I think a lot of the UK as a whole are just bad buyers. I don't think we're very good in social interactions, full stop. And I think buying just intensifies a lot of that, right? People hate uncomfortableness, they hate difficult conversations, and it's why using like challenger sale methodology works really, really well in the UK, because that slight bit of pressure and tension and asking direct questions tends to get you quite far because people aren't used to it. People are used to a lot of, yeah, no worries, just leave me to think about it. That's absolutely fine. I'll just call you 700 more times and you can keep telling me that you're thinking about it. Whereas actually when you turn around and you say to them, sounds to me like there's an issue here that's stopping you going forward. What is that? Oh, well, actually, there we go. Look at that. Look at that. I told you we'd
For
get.
anyone who's listening and not watching, Kayleigh was making a very serious point about sales and sales cycle and developing relationships, and she waved her hands around, and because she's using some kind of system, fireworks just came out from nowhere. You were like Jubilee from the X-Men for no reason, just like boom, 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 boom.
But
That was
exactly,
epic.
you ask those direct questions and you start getting some answers, and people go, "Oh, actually, it's the price." And you go, "Okay, but it's not the price, is it? The actual cost of it isn't the issue." Because if I told you it's going to cost you £10,000, but you're going to make £1,000,000, you'd be like, "Yeah, no problem." So it's not actually the price that's the issue. You're concerned that you're not going to get the return on that. What is it that concerns you about that? Oh, actually, I don't think the team have the capacity to do the work to get that. Right, okay, that's a very, very different conversation than where we started, which was, oh, I'm not sure, I need to think about it. Now we've ascertained it's actually a capacity issue. Okay, fine. So what is it about that that's the challenge? We're actually in the process of hiring. We're going to have more capacity in 6 months' time. Okay, well, now that's a reasonable thing to park and go, let's come back to that. Or is it that your team don't have capacity because the thing that I'm trying to help you solve and automate is the thing that's taking up their time? Great. In which case, stalling this doesn't make that any better. So how do we move forward? But there's a lot of that conversation that doesn't happen. And I walk around events and I speak to firms about some of the conversations they're having with other app partners, with other providers in general. And some of it is quite frankly shocking.
I think I'm going to say something very controversial. I've met some exceptional business development, account managers, and salespeople within this industry in the last 5 or 6 years, but majority aren't that good.
I agree.
They don't challenge. They don't ask follow-up questions. They don't do any kind of due diligence or probing, and then wonder why they get nowhere.
Our industry is full of relationship salespeople, and relationships are brilliant and they can get you a long way, but they stop at a certain point because one of two things happens. Either it becomes a place where you probably should push and have some really direct conversations, but you're worried about jeopardizing the great relationship that you've built, and so you don't, and you stay in that like softly friendly space. or they don't take you seriously because you're in that softly friendly space. And so when you then try and have that conversation, it's like, oh, that's just stale, don't worry about it, it'll be fine, you'll get over it. That's the challenge. You hit one of those two barriers. And so I think what we're seeing, and again, a little bit of a controversial point, is we have an entire, sorry everyone, older generation of salespeople in this industry that their entire careers and networks are based on relationship sales. And I think what we're starting to see is a new generation of salespeople coming in that I'm hoping are coming in with a little bit more of a challenger sales mentality, where actually, I'm not here to be your best friend, I'm here to hold you accountable and to help you make real change in your business. We'll see.
We shall see. We shall see. I'm going to ask you one of the questions you posed to me, on a slight tangent. Do we need more people to put their hands up and speak at events? And if so, why?
Yes.
Do we need more people to speak at events?
Yes.
And why do we need more people to speak at events?
Yes. We have a fantastic community of people that speak at events. And they are genuinely fantastic. And there's a lot of great information being shared. But we have some real hidden gems in our industry who aren't out there talking about what they're doing, but they are doing fantastic things. And what I think is a little bit of a shame is that sometimes you will look at the agendas for these shows and you will have the same person doing 6 or 7 talks. And I look at the talks that they're doing, and it's not that that person doesn't have valuable things to all 6 or 7 of those talks that they're going to be on, or panels that they're going to be on. They absolutely can. But do they need to be on 6 or 7 of them? Or are there 5 other people that we could put in there that would share slightly different perspectives that may help in a different way? Yes, probably.
Isn't one of the problems, though, people putting their hands up to do it, right? Because, like, I spoke at Accountex this year, but only because I asked to. I kid you not, like, no one really approached me per se. I was like, let's give it a go. And I think the problem that I can imagine, events have is they need certain people to be there to talk, to do the seminars. And if only a few people are saying, I'm willing to do it, well, they're going to pick the people that are willing to do it.
However, the flip side of that is
However,
things like Accountex get hundreds and hundreds of speaker applications, and a lot of people get declined. So that's interesting. Then you have newer shows like, obviously, Accountex, Accounting Web Live that rebranded to Fab, where Fab tried really hard to get a diverse mix of speakers, but probably didn't quite hit the mark. And I'm now having conversations with them about, actually, do we do something really different next year to try and encourage that? How do we get a bunch of new voices out there speaking? And the fact is, it's a little bit like the DEI side of things, where actually, unless you're actively trying to do this, it's not going to just magically change, right? And so it has to be a really conscious thought and a really conscious effort to go, okay, if I'm going to give 6 or 7 speaking slots to this same person, how about I take 4 of those away and I now actively go and find 4 new people to speak on those? But it has to be active, and it's going to be challenging, and it is time consuming, but I think it has to happen.
Diversity inclusion is kind of one of the things you focus on. Am I right? That's one of your passions?
Yeah.
The one thing is, I agree with almost everything you say, but because I'm a contrary person, I like to play devil's advocate.
Yeah.
So with diversity and inclusion and opportunity, is one of the problems, is it a deeper issue within industry in terms of representation and inclusion? So again, certain ages, sexes, genders, ethnicities, because you could say to Fab, Accountex, DAS, whatever, we need more diversity, but if there's a pool of people that aren't there, then how can they get that diversity in their shows? Am I making sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And so this is where it comes to it being really conscious and something to think about. Because if, for example, say the accounting industry was 99% male, right? Then we would expect if the shows were to reflect that, then 99% of speakers would be male, right? But if you then went, actually, we want to make more of a conscious effort to have more women here. So we're going to make sure that we're going to get 2% women on stage, right? Of the speakers. How are we going to do that? Okay, well, they're not putting their hands up because they're not here. Okay, so how do I go about this? Right, I'm going to approach all of the different accounting bodies. That's where I'm going to start, with accounting bodies. Who are your most active female members? These people. Okay, great. And then go reach out to them, have conversations. But this is the thing of it being conscious and effort driven and wanting to do it versus sitting back and going, well, women just don't apply. Like, great. but what are you doing about that? And that's the thing that I think I find frustrating, is it's really easy to be like, well, we didn't have many Black women apply, we didn't have many Asian women apply to speak, we didn't have this, we didn't have that, or everyone fell into the same age group. But like, great, what are you doing to combat that? Who are you working with? How are you trying to do that, right? Accountex, for example, work with a DEI partner, watch this space. They are actively thinking about that. This year they had the quiet space that they were hosting, etc. Like they're getting better. They had the British Sign Language interpreters. Like things are happening. And I think when people say to me, do you just feel like you're banging your drum and no one's listening? I'm like, no, because if we go back to the first Accountex I spoke at 3-4 years ago, it's a very different situation to where we were at this year. So is there more to do? 100%. Would I like it to be happening faster? Absolutely. But is it happening? Yes.
I'm going to ask you a really dumb question. What is it specifically about DEI that motivates you, or that you're so passionate about it? Why particularly that subject?
I think it definitely stems from my own personal experiences, right? In terms of my own experience being a 17-year-old woman of colour at NatWest when I first started out, working in a team of middle-aged white men. And I was very fortunate that they were really supportive of me and tried to push me forward. But there was definitely that thing of, I don't see people that look like me here. Do I fit in here? Is this where I want to sit forever? I then moved into corporate, had some horrendous experience. I said on a podcast the other day that one of the first things one of the senior members of the team asked me when I worked in corporate was, who did you sleep with to get here? Because that was the belief that the only way I could be 19 with my corporate job was if I'd done that. That's how I got promoted, obviously. And then I've had 3 situations where I was physically abused in the street for the colour of my skin by grown men. Like, there are multiple things that have led me to the point where I'm like, this is important. And you couple that with the microaggressions you see. I couple that with the conversations I have with women constantly who feel like they're underrepresented, that they're underheard, that they don't know how to negotiate, etc. I speak to women of colour in our industry who feel like they look at the Accounting Excellence Awards brochure and they don't feel seen. They don't feel like that's a place that they fit in. They go to events, they look at who the speakers are on stage, and they're not people that reflect them. And whilst I am not a believer of you have to see it to be it, I'm very much like, I'm going to figure it out anyway. There are a lot of people that fall into that of you have to see it to be able to be it. And I think we have a responsibility to create those figures that people can look up to and create the spaces where they can get access to the information to progress and to do that. That's the personal side. But the business side of it is that diverse businesses perform better. You make more money, you make more profit. That's a fact. All of the data and all of the research shows you that. The challenge is I don't think that many people are taught how to be leaders and how to do all of these things, right? You are good at your job, you get promoted, you become a people manager, but at no point does anyone sit you down and teach you how to effectively lead teams. So we have this disconnect.
Off the back of that then, what does effective leadership look like to you?
It's
asking you some deep questions.
100%. And I think, I honestly believe that effective leadership looks different for each leader, because how you lead effectively is going to be dependent on your team and yourself. But I think the thing that I predominantly focus on is inclusive leadership. And that's about creating spaces where you bring together a diverse set of people with a diverse set of skills, and you find ways for them to work effectively together, right? There's an analogy about effectively like inclusion in work being like cooking, right? You take a lot of good ingredients, which is your people, you bring together a good recipe, which is the idea of how you do that equitably, and you blend them all together in a perfect way, and that's your inclusion, right? And it's that idea. But I think how you start to break that down is thinking about it in different sections. So I did a talk at Accountex where we talked about this, and I talked about PEA, which is people, education, accountability. So from a people perspective, we went through really practical tips around talent retention, onboarding, and attraction. From an education perspective, the focus was really on unconscious bias, because I think that's the easiest and most obvious place to start picking up on things. And then accountability was about putting real numbers to these things to make it a real thing that you're focusing on. Because if you were focusing on increasing profits, you'd put numbers to it, you'd actively be doing stuff. So it's the same idea for this.
I'm going to pick on something very small that you said, because this is how my brain works, and come up with a dumb question. You use an analogy of cooking to make a good mix. And my first thought was, Kayleigh, do you have a signature dish that you bust out when you're trying to impress people?
Oh, do I?
Like you're having a dinner party, you're trying to, new friends, wherever it is, and you're like, oh, how do I show off? How do I show love through this food? What are you cooking?
That's a great question. I make a very good, it's a chicken sausage creamy pasta. It doesn't have an official name, but that's pretty good.
Okay.
Or a jerk chicken with like a cheesy creamy pasta. Also very good.
With cheesy creamy
Basically,
pasta.
I just really like cheesy creamy pasta. That's the key thing here.
Is cheesy creamy pasta just macaroni cheese?
No, it's not. Because
It sounds like macaroni cheese.
Bad macaroni cheese, so it's not that.
But all the words you've just used to describe it sound like macaroni cheese.
It's not macaroni cheese. I make bad macaroni cheese. I make good creamy cheesy pasta.
I mean, this is how I know you work in sales. You're spinning it so well. Like, it's the same thing. Creamy cheesy pasta is mac and cheese, bro. Like, don't even.
It's not,
try that.
because we're going with like a thick linguine spaghetti as opposed to like little macaronis. We're going.
Okay, so the shape of the pasta's there, but it's essentially macaroni cheese.
Pasta,
all right, I got it.
The ingredients, we're going like soft cheese. Like it's different, I promise.
All right, tell me more about this jerk. What's going on in the marinade as well? What's been rubbed onto this bad boy?
When it comes to jerk chicken, I'm buying a jerk marinade and going that way. I'm an absolute cheat when it comes to jerk chicken. Yeah, I can hear the disappointment in that side, but yeah.
Yeah. And I was going to lie to you and say, don't worry, I'm not disappointed. It's fine, but no, it is what it is. It is what it is.
It's fine.
At least, do you cook it in the oven?
Yes.
You know what? I'm not going to judge you for that either, because it's still good in the oven. Like, you know, if you've got a barbecue, grill it. But if you don't have a barbecue, then it's still good in the oven. You know what I mean? How long do you marinate your meat for?
Ideally overnight, at least.
Good answer. I had a debate with a friend of mine. He's like, all you need is 20 minutes. I was like, I mean, you can do stuff with 20. Like, there's no time for it to even permeate.
It's hot.
You know what I mean?
That's not a marinade. That's just like a little rub around the front.
Sauce.
It's not. Yeah, that's not a marinade. That's a sauce.
When you're not busy taking over the world with Teleroo, what do you do for fun? What's happening in downtime?
What do I do for fun? I like to read.
Yeah.
I like to read. I'm not a lover of like films, so I'm definitely reading, walks, out with friends, shopping. Love shopping. Yeah. Or naps. Love a nap.
Any particular genre for reading?
Ideally romance. Yeah. I like a good romance novel.
Okay.
Which people are often surprised by. I think because I'm quite like I do work, etc. So I don't want to read like business books or anything like that. I want like something very easy that like just doesn't take a lot of brain capacity.
No, that's cool. Sorry. So reading, shopping. Again, when you're shopping, anything in particular? Like, do you have one thing you can like? 'Cause we know a few people in the industry. They're sneakerheads, right? Like Keaton at Beavers and Struthers, Andy Gleason. Like that's their thing. Do you have a particular thing you buy, or just do you enjoy the retail therapy?
I will take any shopping, but ideally home shopping. Like homeware shopping is my top tier. New blankets, new cushions, a candle, a random jar that I didn't need, a fake plant. Sign me up. Yeah, home shopping is my happy place.
How many cushions do you have on your sofa, and how many of those cushions stay on your sofa when you sit down?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I want to say 6. And how many stay on it when I sit down? None. I throw them all on the floor. It's the same as on the bed.
I love stereotypes. Yeah, so there's always like tons of pillows that are just there for show, like show pillows. Like what?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm being a typical bloke and be like, all these pillows in the way.
Don't need them. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I should probably ask you some serious questions because we've strayed away from the business content. You asked me the question: is there a talent crisis? Is that referring to bookkeepers and accountants, or people on the fintech side of things, or both?
It was referring to accountants and bookkeepers, but I also think that the same is true on the app side. As someone that recently tried to hire and then didn't hire, yeah, I think it actually sits both sides of the fence.
Oh, are you allowed to say what you're trying to hire for? Like who kind of role are you looking for?
I think
what can you not say?
There wasn't officially a role title. My current version of what that person is another me. Yeah.
I don't want to blow too much smoke, but you are quite exceptional as a person, so it might be quite difficult to do.
Yeah. That's what I found.
Do you reckon you could grow another you? Do you reckon you'd get like an apprentice and train up, or will that take too long? Do you not have the time to
So I think
invest in
that
an
is
apprentice? You need someone.
probably the next route, because I think one of the challenges I have is people will naturally develop their own bad habits, etc., over time, right? And so actually starting kind of ground up might be the better option, and kind of molding and sculpting and giving someone the space to grow into a role like that, I think might be the better option.
So would this be like a partnerships kind of role?
I think
That's
so.
your title.
Yeah, I think so. My title is a funny one because I don't know that it 100% reflects what I do accurately at all, to be honest with you. But I think it's definitely someone to work with our accounting partners and to work with our accountancy partners in a hybrid success sales role, because it needs to be customer success, but true customer success that is holding people accountable and helping them to achieve their goals. But I think to do that effectively, there is an element of sales with that, because you are constantly reselling at every level. The deeper that you get into a firm, you need to bring people on that journey again and again and again. So I need you to be able to do that effectively. Do I need you to be able to go and walk into a room of 50 partners at a huge firm right now? No. But do I need you to be able to talk about the product and understand someone's goals and what it is that they're looking to achieve? Yes. And then we can build on the rest.
Okay. Speaking about the product, you were at Accountex last week. Do you have any silly, funny, or interesting conversations that you had whilst you were at the stand at Accountex that spring to mind? And can I load this with? So I went on the digital disruptors stage because I'm part of that network, and I got asked some questions that were, I'll say, ridiculous, but just like, I was very surprised. They're like, so what does this whole zero dex combination do? And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to get mad at you because you just don't know. But I just assumed lots of people knew what OCR and zero did combined. But this person generally had no idea. Like, oh, we're thinking about digitizing. I'm like, how do you not know? Now, obviously, I was very polite, but I was just like, it's been a while. How are you? And at first, I thought they were pulling my leg, but they were genuinely like, no, we haven't got really any clients on QuickBooks or Zero.
Okay.
What's all the hype about? And I'm like, 10 years kind of late, but sure.
Better late than never.
Yeah. So did you get any kind of questions like that at Accountex while you were on the stand?
I think the fun, I mean, I thought it was funny. It wasn't that funny for them, but was a conversation we had where kind of we were opening the conversation up around like, are you making payments for your clients? And they were like, yeah. We're like, oh, great. And we're like, oh, have you considered automating that, using a tool to do that? Have you heard of Telerow? All of those kind of things, right? And we got to the point where I kind of said, oh, okay, how are you doing that currently? And they said, oh, we've got direct access to clients' bank accounts. I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. I'm like, have you looked at the impact that has on the cost of your indemnity insurance? And they were like, huh? I was like, because you have to tell your insurance that you've got access to clients' bank accounts. And the two of them kind of looked at each other and they were like, yeah. And you're like, I feel like you need to leave and make a phone call. I feel like
you've just identified a very big problem for them. Yeah, that they have not thought through.
Yeah. So that was one where it was like, oh, that's a problem, isn't it? But yeah, probably not so funny for them.
Well, a good job. Telerow has a solution to that problem.
Yeah, I was like, well, welcome to Telerow. We'll solve that for you, and then you can just pretend it never happened. Don't tell them. So there was that, but I think other than that, nothing that really stands out as particularly funny.
Oh, I've been itching to ask you this question as well. How is it, or why is it, that you know Rishi Ruparelia so well? Because you guys have got some some good bants going on. Do you guys know each other again?
I wouldn't say that we know each other particularly well. We definitely know.
Oh, okay. Your online personas will suggest that you know each other. Okay. Is it just both two cool people who just get it? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think just both in the industry. I think, yeah, but I wouldn't say we know each other particularly well, but we see each other at events.
Got it.
Yeah.
It's a case of game recognized game. Got it.
Something like that.
Cool. I also realised I've asked you a ton of questions, and there are more to come if you've got time for that. Do you have any questions for me?
What are you excited about at the moment? You've been to Dash, you've been to Accountex. What is it that's got you excited at the moment in our space?
I'm going to give you a very generic answer. I'll try and expand. I am genuinely excited about AI, but specifically for advisory services. I think it's a very big challenge for bookkeepers and accountants. No one's really doing it yet, like to the full extent it could be. And I'm interested to see how that that works. And I'm interested to see how it will separate the wheat from the chaff, if that makes sense. Because a lot of people out there call themselves bookkeepers and accountants, and they think they can just do advisory, and they haven't spent the time learning the trade or the craft. And from my experience, you can use AI to do advisory work, but there still has to be the buck stopping with somebody. So I'm genuinely interested to see how AI makes advisory easier, very specifically.
That's interesting, because I think that's probably one of my fears around AI, is people trying to replace advisory with AI, because respectfully, you've got tools like Fathom and that produce great sets of management accounts, right? I don't doubt that you could plug that into some AI and get it to give you some advisory insight, right? But I think for me, true advisory very much still sits in that almost challenger sales space of accountability with business owners and understanding what they want, because the information without any form of goal or what they're trying to achieve is almost pointless, right? I can look at a set of accounts now, I can look at a set of management information, and I can give advisory suggestions of, you could do this. There we go. Lovely. More balloons.
I mean, my advice is usually just make more money, but there we go. Like,
right? So you can do those
make
things.
More money.
Yeah, you can go, right, okay, well, we could do this, we could do that, we could do that. But like, if you don't know what it is that they want to achieve, it kind of means nothing. And so I think I'm interested to see how the good advisors use that information to make it quicker, to make it more effective, to mean that they can deliver it to more clients. But I'm also intrigued to see how some of the people that maybe aren't as well versed are effectively going to trip themselves up with some of this stuff, where they don't really know what they're doing with it.
I want to know how you doing air quotes made balloons appear on your screen.
I'm really not sure, and they seem to not.
It's not even doing it now.
Yeah, no, I'm not sure. Same as when I do a thumbs up, sometimes it doesn't work, and other times it does. Very strange.
Okay. Off the top of your head, what are the last 3 tracks you listened to, or the last 3 tracks that have been on your Spotify playlist? If you use Spotify.
One would. Oh God, what would I have listened to? Can I cheat and tell you what it was?
Yeah, you can cheat. You can take a look. That's fine.
Because I know it was literally.
I'm not expecting to remember every single thing.
That was the last one, so I can tell you.
I mean, I could have phrased it, but I could have been like, what tune are you bopping right now? What's going on in your head? What you listen to all the time when you're walking or going to the gym, where it is. But like, I didn't ask it that way because I'm me.
So it was Godspeed by Frank Ocean. Very great song.
Okay.
It was Shabba Matterpot by Dexter Daps and Ciao by Bryson Tiller.
This is how I know I'm old. I didn't recognize any of those artists.
Well, there you go. I'll send you the link. You might like it.
And I was going to ask you also, what's the one old person thing that you do, even though you're not an old person? But I think you've answered this already. You said you like taking naps. It's an old person thing to do.
You say that, but babies take naps. So arguably it's a very young person thing to do.
Yeah, but then you grow out of it. So,
like, I don't think I've ever grown out of taking naps. I think that's the problem. I just don't think I've ever grown out of taking naps.
So let's say it's your working day, Teleroo, and you've got your lunch break or flexible working. There could be a point someone tries to call you, and it's half an hour. It's actually because you're asleep, right? You're taking a little power nap, half an hour.
Teleroo has a culture of trust, and so if of an afternoon I'm not feeling great, I've got a headache, I feel really tired, I don't feel like I'm performing very well, there's absolutely nothing stopping me saying, hey team, back in 45, off for a power nap.
That's epic.
That is a good place to work.
I find it hard to fall asleep within 45 minutes. Do you literally, like, have you trained yourself to fall asleep quickly?
I reckon I'm a 7-minute fall asleep person. I put brown noise on and I'm gone.
What's brown noise?
It's like
I've heard of white noise.
It's like, yeah, it's a slightly more, it gives more of like an ocean wave kind of sound than like a TV static noise.
Do you have it on all the time when you nap, or does it turn off automatically?
It's pretty much just on the whole time. There's one on Spotify that's 10 hours long, so that's more than long enough.
Oh wow! So like every night you listen to brown noise when you sleep?
Yeah, brown noise or really any ASMR type thing, but typically brown noise.
Okay, I'm genuinely intrigued now. So like when you do it, like, are you playing it through your phone, or have you got speakers in your bedroom?
And then just leave it there.
Right. I might give that a go. Some brown noise.
Would recommend, and you don't realize it, and then you wake up and you turn it off, and you're like, oh, that was strange. Would recommend. Sleep brilliantly.
All right, I'll give it a go.
I mean, with Grace Hardy, who is an accountant, and we were sharing a room, and I was like, I'm going to put brown noise on to fall asleep, and she was like, okay, let's see. Put it on. She slept great. Turned it off in the morning. She was like, loved it.
See, this is why I like talking to people and letting these conversations go on tangents. We were talking about accounting, technology, uh, talent, and now we're talking about brown noise. Like, I don't even know how we got there. Like, I've lost track of what we were talking about, but we got to brown noise.
We got to the good stuff eventually.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that insight. I'll give some brown noise a go. Back to the serious questions. Are you ready for a serious question?
Okay.
It's your question, so why we need to start holding people accountable for poor behaviour. Now, I assumed we do this already. Do we not do this? As a society, we're not good at this? Like,
as an accounting app community, as an accounting bookkeeping community, I don't think we're very good at this.
Without calling anyone out, can you give an example of where you haven't seen poor behaviour being handled correctly, or is that an unfair question?
Is people rest on their reputation, and we are an industry where that means that there are individuals who have a reputation that has amassed from the sheer length of time they've been in industry and the relationships that they have, that mean that some of the behavior and the things that they do not get called out because people are, quote unquote, afraid of the backlash of that, or worried that people will not necessarily back them up effectively, right? Like, I think we have an industry full of a lot of introverts who don't want to put themselves out there as that person. However, when you start speaking to people one-on-one, you get to hear a lot of stories of behavior that hasn't been called out, whether it's internally at an app, whether it's internally at a firm, whether it's interactions between the two, where things happen that you go, that's not okay. And there are instances where I have then gone out and called people out for it, and not necessarily publicly, but like one-on-one said, like, that's not on. But what's interesting is when other people have found out about that, they are very quick to rush to that person's defense and support. Oh, but they're a really great person. Oh, they've been in the industry a long time. Oh, but, and I'm very bored of the buts. Poor behavior is poor behavior. It doesn't mean that we have to cast them out of the industry, but we can hold people accountable for that.
The reason why I'm pausing is I'm processing what you said. And I'm thinking if the next question is reasonable or unreasonable. How poor behavior are we speaking? Like, talking about here, because like poor behavior, there's gradients, right? I don't know. How bad are we talking here?
I think the issue is there is a spectrum of poor behavior that's occurring, from things that I have been genuinely appalled and outraged by, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I cannot believe that has happened, and genuinely been stuck on what to do and sought advice from like other people that I trust in the industry because I'm like, I don't know what to do with that information, through to people just repeatedly showing up late every day and no manager calls it out, right? Like there's like a very big spectrum of things happening.
Yeah. Okay. No, I'm with you on that one. I guess the difficulty is finding the right way to challenge, and also, as you say, the courage to do so.
100%. And it is difficult, right? There's a person in our industry that I need to have a conversation with, right, about something at the moment. Nothing awful, but I need to have a conversation with them about it. But finding the right time is really, really difficult. The only time I've seen them recently has been at large-scale conferences full of clients and potential clients, right? Not the appropriate time to have that conversation. And so there is an element of that is just balancing it, and where do you have those conversations? There's also an element of it's important to call people out, but that doesn't mean publicly bashing them and ruining their career and their reputation, right? And so I think one of the challenges we have is, how do you hold people accountable when it's not in public? How do you make it known that those things are being dealt with, but not being publicly blasted everywhere as well? Like, it really is a balancing act.
Do you think that's a wider comment on our society in terms of the influencer, right? Because that's what it sounds like. It sounds like we've got influencers within our sector, and they might get away with stuff because they're influential. But that is kind of how society is going, right? Like, you've got calling people out, you've got cancel culture, which in my opinion is never good. I don't know where I'm going with that. It's just random musing.
100%. But that's the challenge, isn't it? Is that because we have influencer world, people, when it comes to holding those people accountable, people want that to be public. People want to see that done publicly, because if you're in the public eye, people want to see that. And so it is a real challenge of doing that. And I think that's where the balance bit comes in, right? Because if you were to take like an average relationship, if you were having problems with your partner and say one of your friends knew that they'd cheated on you or done something horrible, your friends don't then want to see you out at dinner holding hands being friendly. They want to see you publicly holding them accountable, right? But part of you goes, it's our relationship and we deal with that in private. And so I don't need to publicly put that on blast. And so it is like a balancing act. And that's very much the way I see it, right? Is that people want to see it held publicly, but that's not necessarily the right way of dealing with it.
If only people were as wisdomous as you. There we go. That's all I can say on that one. Right. Not everything has to be aired online.
Yeah.
Have we got through all the questions and things? Bear with me a second. I'm just reading through the LinkedIn post. Okay. One of the questions you raised, why fintech vendors aren't getting the most from events. Should we be looking for more from vendors? I don't know if that's two different questions, but
yeah, I think,
are fintech vendors getting enough from events?
I think this one's an interesting one, particularly like post a couple of events that we've had, right? People are starting to talk about how many leads they got, what kind of return they're expecting from them, which events they might be doing next year. And I think there are still a lot of people that are showing up to events with a stand and some swag and being like, right, we're going to get leads today. And then they don't get as many as they wanted. And they go, oh, well, that was rubbish. But like, I think it's interesting. And
they need to get better at sales.
They need to get better at sales, but also what are you doing pre-event? What work are you actually doing post-event? Like, are you actually thinking about some of this stuff? And I was having a conversation the other day with someone who was saying, actually, should we be asking more from the event organizers? Should they be giving more support to vendors pre and post-event to help them with that? Have they got the demographics of who's signed up? So actually, if you know that everyone that's coming to this event is a partner, does that change the messaging of the product? Because, for example, if I was talking to a room full of partners about Teleroo, they're probably not the people sat down making the payments. So from a messaging perspective, I'm going to be talking a lot more about freeing up capacity in your team. I'm going to be talking a lot more about risk, about indemnity insurance, things that are going to land with a room full of partners. If I'm talking to a room full of bookkeepers that are on the tools doing the work, I'm going to be talking a lot more about the functionality of Teleroo, how it works, specifically what the process looks like, right? And so is there an opportunity for people to have better information ahead of the event to better tailor the messaging on the day, potentially? Is there more work that could be done post-event for maybe some of the smaller apps that are just starting out and maybe don't have huge marketing teams? What support can we give in terms of what the best cadence for email follow-up is? When should you be calling people post-event? Is it better to host a webinar, or is it better to book in individual demos? Like, could we be collating better information and providing that to vendors as well so that they can show up and be better? But the flip side of that is you've only got to walk around one of the shows and the amount of people that you still see sat on phones, sat at desks behind their stands, sat in groups as teams, chatting away, not engaging with people that are walking past. Like, there aren't many people that are going to walk up to your stand and be like, please talk to me, right? You've got to engage with them. Our CEO, Andrew, does a great job for everyone that walks past. He's like, his thing the other day was, can I have 20 minutes of your time, right? Which is outrageous. No, obviously you can't have 20 minutes of my time. And they're like, no. And he's like, fine, can I have 2? And they're like, yeah, great, right? And they'll give you 2 minutes of their time. Or everyone that walks past, do you make payments for your clients? Yes, no. Either way, you're getting an answer, right? But you have to be actively engaged. I think there's 2 sides.
I kid you not, when I used to do trade events, one of the best tricks I ever did, right, is just stepping ever so slightly off the stand and putting a hand out and saying hello. People often take your hand. This is pre-COVID, by the way, so it might be different now. But out of instinct, someone will take your hand because you're being friendly and you'll say, hey, my name's Dale, nice to meet you. And they've stopped. And then you can just talk or ask them questions. I don't know why more people don't do it. It's not hard. So no, I agree with you on that one. Do you think it's confusing for certain newer app providers who think technology sales should be quicker than they are? So let me rephrase that. Actually, generally speaking, tech sales fast-paced, quick, right? But because of the nature of the industry and fintech, what should be quick is not quick. Do you think that's maybe where some providers get stuck? They think they can just, like you say, they can rock out with a stand, solution to the problem, but actually the sales process, they don't understand the nature of the people they're selling to.
There are
one of the issues.
People selling to accountants that do not understand how accountants work or what they do. that to me is the core of the issue there, is that they do not fundamentally understand the way in which an accounting firm works, the way in which an accounting firm buys, or their motivations for doing so. What they see is, new channel for sales. Okay, well, if we can work with an accounting firm that has 1,000 clients, great. And what they're actually trying to do is they're not trying to sell to you, they're trying to sell through you. And they are two very different things.
Yeah.
We
That backfires horribly, I can tell you that.
100%. That's what they're trying to do, right? Is they're thinking it's going to be fast money by selling through you, because they seem to think you're going to give them access to all their clients and they're just going to go off and sell to all of these clients. The vendors that I think do very well are the ones that sell to accountants. We sell to you, we work with you, we are very much building something for you, as opposed to, I want access to your clients, thanks very much. And I think that's the fundamental challenge there for those apps.
100%. We're coming close to an hour. I've enjoyed speaking to you. I've enjoyed listening to you. I always value your insights. Before we log off, is there one kind of final nugget, bit of truth, wisdom you want to drop? It can be business related, it can be personal, it can be anything. What do you want to go out on?
I think the one thing I want everyone to think about at the moment, and this goes for vendors, this goes for accountants, is just to be intentional. Stop going to events with no intention. Stop having demos and calls of people with no intention on both sides. Like, be intentional about what it is that you want to achieve. Be open, be honest. And I think the conversations that we'll have will be so much better.
Thank you. On that note, I'm going to hit end stream. We're going to roll out and that'll be done. Kayleigh, thank you for joining me. Like, generally, it's been a delight.
Thank you.